Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Claire Markwick, and this is Real Life Business. Hello and welcome to episode number 5. In this episode, I am chatting with Amanda Kate, who is the founder of Design Lingo, a business creating functional homes and workspaces through conceptual design consultations. Plus, Amanda is also a marine rescue radio operator, a rural fire service volunteer, a Mums Exercise Group of Australia facilitator, a soccer player, a zookeeper, and a local companion animal carer. On top of all that, if you're not exhausted already, Amanda also juggles farm life, pet reptiles, and her toddler hubby combo. So her life is pretty full. This is a fabulous insight into the life of someone who really values giving back to her community and being a fabulous role model to her daughter. But it's not only that. Through all these avenues that Amanda volunteers with and all the different experiences that she's been a part of, she has managed to find herself again. Something that I think as women we can really struggle with, particularly after becoming a mum. I want to add at this point that both Amanda and myself live in rural New South Wales and our internet connection is somewhat sketchy at the best of times. So I want to give a big shout out to Amanda who, despite it being like 8 o'clock at night, dark and freezing cold, was outside on her property trying to find the best reception that she could. So please excuse the little internet dropouts that we had. I trust it doesn't take away from the value of this conversation. And we join it with me asking if Amanda has always been the type of person who likes to be kept busy. So in the introduction to this episode, I reeled off a huge, massive list of things that you managed to fit into your life, Amanda. Have you, it makes me feel tired even reading it all. Have you always been someone who likes to have a lot going on?
Not intentionally, but once you start actually writing it out on paper, it does look like a lot going on, doesn't it? So I have always been doing something. So it's not like I can just go to work and come home. I've got to be going to work and volunteering somewhere and coming home. So yeah, I'll put that down as a yes. I'm constantly learning new things.
I think that's really cool, isn't it? Like just that last little bit you said, that constantly learning new things, being open to the fact that, being involved in lots of things can teach us lots of things. That's a really cool concept just in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Because I find, I suppose, sitting around at home isn't getting me to meet new people or moving my backside to getting fitter, or so it was just a matter of getting out there and expanding yourself. I feel like you've got to improve who you are as a person constantly. Life keeps changing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know for me, like I'm someone who is very driven by variety. There's these core human needs and we've all got them all, but we're all driven by different one of them. Listen to that grammar. But I know for me, variety is something that I need to make sure I have in my life. And so some people always say to me, geez, like, how do you fit it all in? I'm like, well, my response to that is we will always make time for whatever's important to us. Is that something that you sort of believe in as well?
Yeah, definitely. Prioritizing. You'll always fit something in that you need to, or you'll make the time for it. So I generally make time for sleep because I love sleep, and I'll always make time for eating because I love eating. So if I can fit in work and eating sometimes, I don't mind that. Though I have been listening to a podcast where it said you need to be eating mindfully and not doing two things at once. So that's been a struggle.
Really? Gosh, I would struggle with that. As I have my very unhealthy bag of chips and a banana in the car at the skate ramp this afternoon, waiting for my 10-year-old to decide to come back and meet me.
Oh yes, which having that is better than being hangry, they call it. I'm not a good person on an empty stomach.
Oh, tell me about it. And I was having this conversation with Mr. Seven the other day, and he was like, Mum, he's like, I thought I invented the word hangry, but now everybody says it. I'm like, no, mate, you didn't invent the word hangry. I'm sorry. You might have just freshly discovered the word hangry. He goes, you get hangry, don't you, Mum? I'm like, yes, I do.
I don't usually notice it though until I've reached that point, which is horrible.
So we've established we can always find time for food. We need food to, like, keep us settled, keep us from being hangry.
Yes, that's right. So 100% prioritizing, very important in life.
So your business, Design Lingo, tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, I can rattle on forever about that. So I'll keep it nice and short for you. Suppose I'm very passionate about people living in a functional home. And that could mean many things, but mostly that their stuff that's stored in their pantry is at a reasonable height for their needs, or they're using what's required for them. Just like you want to keep your dirty laundry near the laundry so as you can do your washing. Just stuff that can save trips and save time. You don't want to be walking around furniture when you can have a clear line path for indoor outdoor entertaining. Just simple functional benefits to designing a home, such as window placement. I'm sure a lot of people sit on their couch and go, I just love to be looking outside here, or that window might just be interrupting that TV display. So there's a lot of things that comes to a home design that just could have, I suppose, been fixed prior if you had a consultation. And so I just like to come in and try and make it as functional for you and just suit your needs just via consultation, mostly, and then I can just draw up some plans if it's required. But otherwise, it's a pretty laid back, easygoing, fun business.
I love it. So it's like, if people are planning a new house or planning some renovations, you can come in and just say, okay, well, I see what you've got here. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? What are you going to use that room for? What are you going to use that room for? Have you thought about twisting this around that way or putting that there? That sort of thing.
Gee, you're great with your words. That's perfect. That's exactly the kind of thing that I do.
So essentially, I guess, like what you do for your design clients is kind of, I guess, in a way, a metaphor for how you must live your life, in as much as, you fit so much into your life. You must be very effective at managing your time. So in much the same way, like with your design clients, you're helping them utilize their space most effectively. You're essentially using those same skills to, manage your time most effectively.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not to say that I have just been born a pro at this. I've gone through a lot of hurdles to try and find the best thing that suits myself and my needs as well. And so essentially, while I've been picking up on all of those skills, I also like to pass that on to other people. But I did sit quite some time at the University of Canberra doing interior architecture. So it's not just something I picked up overnight. I did work my way to it. So
absolutely. Yeah. And now you've got a toddler thrown into the mix as well. That must really make things interesting.
Definitely. Especially when it comes to climbing out of cots and knowing how to open doors and jumping in and interrupting my sleep. And again, they're not as much as you try to make a routine. Some things are quite unpredictable. So you just also have to go with the flow.
I remember we took our eldest, we got our eldest out of a cot. No, he would have been about 18 months old, I think, when we took him out of a cot, because for that exact reason, he worked out how to climb out of it. And I'm like, I was just saying to my husband, like, the side of the cot is really high. Like if he falls, like he's getting out of bed every night anyway, and he's climbing over the top of this cot. And if he falls, he's going to really hurt himself. So we might as well take the side of the cot off and have it as a bed. And it was sheer hell to begin with. Like we were almost back to those newborn days of, like you say, interrupted sleep. I'm like, what is going on? We've had 18 months of solid sleep, and now you keep waking me up.
Yeah,
just throws another
my
spice
life
of excitement into our day, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's a whole new set of skills to get around, which is lucky that there are plenty of other parents out there who have also gone through it. But again, the zookeeper in me has tried to do some toddler training. So we're working on it. It's a work in progress.
Oh my God, I can totally resonate with that too. I have, I don't even know if I should even say it on a podcast like this. I have been known to hold the bedroom door shut, and I have stood there for like an entire hour just to make sure that he actually gets some sleep, holding the door shut. I'm like, oh God, locking my child in a room, is that right?
No, I understand where you're coming from.
Oh, hilarious. So tell us about some of the volunteer work you do. You just mentioned the zookeeper in you. Like we did reel off a huge list of things at the beginning. Is volunteering and sort of giving back to the community, is that something that's really important to you?
Yeah, and the volunteering organisations also are able to provide you with experience that you wouldn't usually get day to day. So last weekend, I was lucky enough to be a part of a helicopter training. So in the case that the fires come back through, I have somewhat of a skill base to communicate with the pilots in regards to where to drop the water on the fire based on the plan of attack. So that's the kind of thing you don't do every day.
Absolutely. That's
again,
through the RFS. That sounds like a very dumb question, but that's not through zookeeping, that's through the RFS.
yeah, that one's through the Rural Fire Service. So that's something I've been a part of since I was 16. But I come and go as you have kids or had university commitments. So but I'm back into it in a more active role again, now that I can leave my toddler with family members while I go fight fires. But it's been a nice quiet season. Don't want to jinx anything again, so
no, quick.
yes. So and then my marine rescue was something that I actually just started during COVID, because I walked past a poster that said that they needed volunteers, and I'm like, oh well, it's quiet with COVID at the moment, I'll give it a go. And here I am still partaking in those exercises as well, keeping lives safe at sea, and teaching other people how to be safe as well, and what you need to do out on the water, and being available in the case that something does happen.
That's unreal. Like it's so let's just go through all this again. You know, you're on a farm, you're running a design business, you've got a toddler, you're volunteering to the Rural Fire Service, you're volunteering with marine rescue, you are still zookeeping as well, is that right? Or is that one that's dropped off just for the time being?
No, I'm still zookeeping, not at the capacity that I used to, but I do like to maintain my relationship with the staff, and I've been there 10 years as of last month, so it's something that I haven't quite learnt how to give up just yet. Since having a child, I've just slowly returned to that role, in the hope that maybe the design business might grow and I won't have to work technically for anybody again. Just unfortunate with house purchases that banks also require you to work for someone else until you have a successful business. So it's a tough situation, this house buying and business owner.
Yeah, and you know that's something that I personally relate to as well. You know, with both my husband and I having our own businesses, you know, we're renting, and we've been happily renting for 6 years, and we just started thinking just not long ago, like, wow, you know, it would be nice to kind of own our own place again, and I wonder what that might look like. And then I sort of suddenly realized, well, geez, you know, the last time we had a house, we both had full-time traditional jobs sort of thing, and now we've both got our own businesses, so there's probably there's a whole new world we've got to navigate there to even make that happen. So I hear you there too.
Oh yeah, so much admin involved just in life, on top of everything else that you have to do. It's sometimes I feel like I just need a personal assistant just to check my insurances are all sorted and I've got money coming into my account and returning phone calls. It's yeah, an interesting one.
Oh, it totally is. It totally is. And what is it that, what do you think it is that drives you? Because as I sort of keep reiterating, you know, the massive long list of things that you do, even, you know, to someone listening, just, you know, having a business with a toddler on the side is enough, as well as volunteering in all these different organizations. So what is it that keeps you going, that gives you that energy, that just allows you to keep stepping one foot in front of the other?
Yeah, so one of them, I suppose my main one is I like the idea of being financially independent. So I don't want to work because I have to. I do the stuff that I do because I want to. And it's actually since I met you some time ago now, and you made me think about, you know, where do you want your life to be? That I really sat down and started to prioritize what it is I wanted. So it's not that I want a mansion or $1 million. I'm happy if I'm with my family, getting along and doing the things that I like to do. So it was just a matter of prioritizing and being happy and living and not working too hard. So that's why I do a lot of volunteer work, because I enjoy it, and whereas I don't have to work a whole lot, and when I do need to, I can generally just work when I want to.
Yeah, it is so important, isn't it? Like I was having this conversation with somebody else the other day as well, like defining what success looks like for us is so important, isn't it? Because it's so easy to be comparing ourselves, particularly with social media and everyone sort of posting their you know, their polished shininess sort of thing, and then we look at that through our eyes of all our sort of imperfections and the things that we aren't good at, and so that gap in between is massive. So I think having a really clear understanding of what success is to us is really, really important, isn't it?
Yeah, especially when you go to school and you're expected to hop out of school, go to uni, get a job, stay in that job, and, you know, build up your super and retire, and that's it. So but nowadays I find people kind of jump from some jobs to other jobs and work out what it is that they want to do, and maybe redo a university course. So people are at least starting to realize that happiness is a priority, and you don't have to be stuck in a 9-to-5 job.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I think I hope in some way the positives of 2020 and the whole COVID situation is it's allowed people the time to prioritize. Prioritize is a word that you've used quite a lot so far in this conversation, and we really do have to, don't we? Because there's only so much that we can fit into 24 hours a day. So when we place such high importance on sleep and food, we've got to allow time for that, and so that means other things have to give, doesn't it? So we'd have to learn that prioritizing skill.
Yeah, and very similar. I heard a quote ages ago, and I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but Beyonce has the same 24 hours as we do, so we can still accomplish, like, everyone is the same, and it's just what you do in those hours, what makes you different. So yeah, it's about words of what it was.
Okay, it doesn't matter about the exact words, we get the gist, we get the idea.
Yeah, that's it. And some days 24 hours isn't enough, and some days the day goes really slow. So
Yeah. So do you ever have days where, so you volunteer fighting fires, you volunteer rescuing people out on the water, you volunteer looking after animals, you're a mum, you're a business owner, you're on a farm. Do you ever have days where you're like, you know what, I just can't be bothered today. I'm just going to stay in my PJs and do nothing.
oh yeah, those Netflix and chill days. Yeah, so my birthday recently passed, and that was pretty much all I wanted to do on my birthday.
Love it. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I do very much like that, but actually I make sure that every day I have my working hours set, and so I know that at the end of the day I have a cup of tea and watch TV with my husband, and that's kind of my downtime. So it's something that I can look forward to, that I know is a bit of our time together on catching up on things amongst everything else, unless we get a call out that interferes with that.
Which would happen, I guess, volunteering for so much.
Yeah, rare, but it does happen.
Yeah. I think would you say that you sort of said that you are someone that likes to have a lot going on. You like the learning that you get from being involved in lots of things, but you also sound like you understand that you do need that downtime, you do need that recharge time, and you can't be like on the go all the time.
Yeah, I suppose one of my favorite tips when it comes to something like that is that when you are motivated, just get it done. And when you do have a slow day, just do it. It's probably your body telling you to take a break. So, I try to listen to my body, though I do obviously make commitments. So if something's in my diary, I'll do that, but then try not to overcommit for the rest of the day. Like, make sure there is 2 hours in the case that something does happen. I've got that leeway. Or if nothing happens, I can watch TV or read a book or
that's perfectly okay.
yeah, because in my mind I'm like, as long as I've ticked off doing something today, it's an achievement.
Yeah. I know for me, like so I'm similar, I think, in as much as like I'm driven a lot by variety. I like to have a lot of stuff going on, but at the same time, I can very easily overcommit myself because I'm just so like energized by doing things and particularly collaborating with people and doing projects. And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. And before you know it, I've just got so much going on. And it's something that I'm learning to control, but I will stress that learning, it's really tough to say no, isn't it?
Oh, 100%. I think it's taken me easily almost 2 years to learn how to say no to things, and I still struggle because, say, if they're short on the roster at Marine Rescue for or covering shifts for anything, I might have the availability or I can make the availability, but I'm determined to only commit so many hours. I'm still helping them in my way where I can, so I don't have to be there 24/7. You just have to tell yourself that things, they'll make a way. You don't have to be the person to come in and save the day.
That's a really important point, I think, isn't it? Because I know it's something that I can resonate with in as much as, well, if I don't do it, who's going to do it? And then it's not going to get done. And sometimes that's just plainly not true, and we can hold ourselves on this higher sort of pedestal than we probably should, but at the same time, sometimes maybe not so much in the case of a rescue shift or fighting a fire, then you might feel a bit bad leaving people short, but at the end of the day, like, everything goes on, doesn't it? Everything still just happens. We don't have to be the one jumping in saving the day all the time. Like, we need that recharge time ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. And something I learned since being a parent, because it wasn't an easy transition for me, was when you can't be there for your child if you're not, if your glass is empty. So yeah, but just always make sure that I'm filling my glass in order to share that glass with others.
Yeah, that's really profound putting it like that. Like that's something that I use all the time. That sort of analogy, you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't keep pushing the accelerator on your car when it's got no fuel. You can get more and more frustrated, but the car's not going to move. But when you put it in the context of I can't give to my child when I've got nothing to give, yeah, that almost like really tugs on the heartstrings even more, doesn't it? It makes it even more profound and sort of sinks in a lot harder.
Yeah, I found learning when it was just yourself, it's, yeah, you're kind of just working with your own schedule. But when you have somebody else's life to take care of, it's quite a big responsibility. And so, yeah, I struggled. I suppose another reason why I joined being a part of other activities was so as I can find myself again around being a mum. So, and that I'm just not giving my cup to one place, and that I can still fill mine while giving at the same time. So it is a matter of yeah, juggling, filling and emptying.
I love that. Juggling, filling, and emptying. Something that you said, I can't recall now whether it's something you said earlier or whether it was something we've talked about previously, is that in getting involved in all these things and volunteering with these different organizations, as well as running your business, is allowing you to feel more like you again. Do you want to elaborate, if you can remember saying that? Do you want to elaborate on what you mean by that?
So before I had kids, again, like I was working at the zoo, and I did design, and I was working for a company in the building industry. And then I had my daughter, and it kind of, and it sounds strange, everyone says it, how your life just changes. But in my mind, I was like, no, I'm prepared. I'll just, if it's a hard day, I'll go for a walk. Yeah, I like to eat, like we mentioned earlier. But yeah, and all of those things, I ended up having a section. So when I was having a bad day, I couldn't just get up and go for a walk. It's a matter of learning all over again what were the things that were able to fill my cups. Yeah, and it was finding that identity of what it is that I in life, as well as being a mum. So what do I want to be remembered by? Actually, yeah, it's very, I suppose, morbid to say, but at your funeral, what are people going to say about you? Like, what do you want to be remembered as? And so, yeah, that was just thing now that I just want to be a part of the community. So if anything does happen, I can have a community there to kind of wish me farewell. But hopefully that's still many, many, many years away.
It does. I know what you mean, in as much as, oh God, that sounds really morbid, but I think you've made a really important point there, because we can so easily get caught, particularly being busy mums, or busy parents, I should say. It's not just mums. We can get caught on this treadmill, can't we? And like this hamster wheel. Like, again, I was talking to someone just earlier today about the hamster wheel. It's Groundhog Day. It's just every day the same thing, the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. And before you know it, we can be 5 or 10 years down the track, and we can look back and we sort of say, what have we actually done in that time? And that can be quite a scary place to be, I think. So whilst it could be viewed as morbid, it could also be viewed as very functional and being very proactive, in as much as, well, what do I want my life to be for? We talked earlier about what success looks like in terms of our business and the lifestyle we want to facilitate, but why can't we sort of predetermine what success of our life looks like as well, and what we want to achieve, and what we want to have learnt, and what examples we want to lead? I think that's a really cool thing that you've just said.
I also found it really hard that everyone understands that when you have a newborn that, you're not getting the sleep and people will cook you dinner, but there was a flick of a switch where some people were going, oh, what are you doing with your life? And I'm like, so is staying home with my child not enough?
Yeah.
And so it's still, so I kind of was very, not argumentative, but in my mind, I felt that, yeah, and I still do, is that minding your child is a high priority. But then it just started, I think what my friends were just trying to say is like, are you going to go back to work and do something for you? So
yeah.
it was very hard to make that transition from one role into another. And now I think with COVID, gave me more time to then jump into more roles very quickly.
Yeah. And as I say, like it's been such a terrible thing, but there has been and can still be so much good that comes out of it as well by giving us these opportunities to reprioritize, refocus, really think about, well, what's important to me? What do I want to achieve? What example do I want to leave my kids? What legacy am I leaving? It has given us that opportunity, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And if anything, it's just a matter of, like, I'd just love to teach my daughter and any kids that I may have in the future that can just try and find yourself. It's not you're not going to do it overnight, but yeah, it is definitely a stepping stone. You just have to dip your toes in the water and find out what's out there and what you enjoy most.
Yeah, totally. So what would you say, you've sort of hinted on a few things. What would you say are your non-negotiables, the standards that you hold yourself to, or the rituals or routines that you hold yourself to sort of keep you sane, keep you able to fit so much in?
Yes, it might sound silly, but I know we mentioned it earlier, is that you always make time for things. And so some of the things I make time for is a definite would be like teeth brushing. I feel like I cannot start the day if I haven't brushed my teeth. So I don't like talking to people if I feel all fuzzy. So that's one non-negotiable for me. And I know it sounds silly, but I suppose for women, some people might know is that if your bra's on, you're working. If it's off, you're you're having it's a relax time. So it seems very small, but just finding out what works for you, make you get going for the day.
I think it's hilarious that you're saying things like this, because it's so freaking important. Like, sorry, I'm just going to interject just for a minute, because I bang on a lot excuse me, I bang on a lot about morning routines and morning rituals and setting your day up right for success. And I get some sort of pushback on that. It's like, yeah, but I've got young kids and I can't always get up at the same time. And, it just depends on this and it depends on that. And my sort of response to that is, I'm not talking about like an hour of meditation followed by an hour of journaling, like whatever your morning routine is going to be a morning routine for you. So it just made me chuckle when you said that. So if it's cleaning your teeth and putting a bra on, rock on. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry. Continue.
Because again, every day is different. And it sounds really strange, but yeah, like when you go to that bra drawer and you're like, oh, is it a sports bra day? Is it a t-shirt bra day? Like, it then determines
really lacy one just to make me feel a bit more like special.
Lift. So it's just amazing how the little things, how you start the day actually get going. But I've tried meditation, I've tried journaling, like that's just not for me. So and it's just a matter, and again, it depends on how I get sleep in the middle of the night with my toddler. But I know as a non-negotiable that I will be brushing my teeth every day. So as long as that's done, I'm up and at it.
I love it. And then ending ending the day with chilling, watching TV with hubby as well. I think that's really important to have that sort of sort of bookends on the day, isn't it? Enveloping your day with a starting the day ritual and an ending the day ritual, because that allows us to gear up and get in our top peak effectiveness area zone, and then we can come down as well and relax and recharge and energize and go to bed and be ready for the next day.
Yeah, that's it. Because my motivation levels change all the time. I'm mostly a morning person, but yeah, I just do things when that comes. But when for example, before I do sit down and have tea and end my day, I do make sure that I have a list of things that I'm doing tomorrow, and that like the next day is going to be functional for me, or is there anything I need to get done now in prepare for the next day. So I don't stop until I know that the next day is organized. I just think that's the organization in me.
Yeah, I think that's so important as well, isn't it? Like it gets stuff out of our heads, doesn't it? Like there's nothing worse than going to bed and lying there thinking, oh shit, I didn't do that, and I've got to remember to do that, and I must ring that person back, and I've got to send that email, and I've got to do that quote. All that stuff buzzing around in our heads, it doesn't help us get a restful night's sleep, does it? So if it's 5 minutes in the evening before we sit and turn Netflix on just to write down everything that we've got to do tomorrow, we can then shut that voice off and go, okay, it's written down, I'll get to it in the morning, now I can relax and recharge.
Yeah, I'm big for writing it down, even if it's just a note to myself, or I actually use an app in my phone called Google Keep, and that way I know that if anything happens to my phone, which it can with a toddler, you never know, it's always there. Ready if I need to. And if I just need to take something off my mind, I can just quickly write it in that. And then if I need to organize it or get back to it the next day.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I think there's just so many questions that I'm sure like people listening have. I'm like, how do you manage this? And what do you do when this happens? And what do you do when that happens? Like fitting so much in. But I think the little insight that you've given us in this conversation is, how you manage your time, how you prioritize, how you choose what's important, how you envelope your day or bookend your day with routines at the start, routines at the end. I think it's been an incredibly valuable and rather entertaining conversation, I have to say. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's all right. I could talk to you forever. So sorry to everybody that had to listen in on me dabble away with random stuff, because I do go on tangent time.
Random banter it's part of what this podcast is all about. Like it's not about us being professional selves all the time. It's like, oh, I remember when that happened, and oh, I remember when that happened, and it's just those little bits of gold that are going to resonate with people. So all good. If people want to get in touch with you, find out a bit more about Design Lingo and what you do, how can they find you?
So the easiest way would just be on my website, because there's a contact us link on there, and just shoot me through an email. So it's designlingo.com.au. I tried to make it as easy as possible.
Love it.
Yes, because I do have Instagram, and I do have Facebook. So there are additional information for that. But with my busy mind, I just don't remember any of it.
Oh, totally. No, I understand 100%. And we'll put all the links in the show notes to this episode as well. So website, Facebook and Insta handles, everything will be there. So people can jump on, have a look at what you do, ask any questions, follow whatever they desire. Now, it was at this point that we lost our internet connection completely. We were happily continuing our conversation, but completely oblivious to the fact that the recording was recording no sound whatsoever. Oh, the joys of rural living. So we jump back into the conversation now at the start of our quick-fire question section, and I've just asked Amanda what she's reading right now.
Mostly my emails. So I don't physically have a book. Yes, I can't really, by the time I sit at a computer and work as much as I can, don't necessarily want to sit and then read something. So my latest interests have been blogs in the design industry, latest trends, or general public questions and answers that are on, say, Facebook groups when it comes to construction. So I just like design so much that I do just read mostly design.
Totally hear you. Love it. In terms of listening to things then, what's your favorite song of all time and why?
Just to get it stuck in people's head, I was going to say Baby Shark because that's all that's been on repeat at my house at the moment. Yeah. And if it's not that, it's This Is a Song That Never Ends. But I will not get that in people's heads. But I do a lot of road tripping, so I like some of the old school, but lately and it sounds a bit weird to be coming from me, but I quite like Hilltop Hoods.
Cool.
Yeah, and a bit of Down Under for Men at Work. So just some traditional upbeat, but not too crazy kind of music.
Yeah, love it. Now, you've already alluded to a couple of these through our conversation, but what's a quote that's changed your life?
I don't know if it's overly obvious, but it's just a nice, easy one to remember is don't be busy, be productive.
I like it. Yeah. Making sure that everything we do, we're doing for a purpose.
Yes, yeah, taking a step forward and not just run around.
Yeah, love it. And again, this is something that you've alluded to through the conversation as well, but give us an app or a piece of software or a piece of tech that's changed how you do business.
So I did mention the Google Keep, so I won't rattle on about that, but a digital calendar, I used to write everything down, but with a digital calendar, when I have repetitive things such as soccer on the weekend, I can just put repeat every Sunday. So I'm not rewriting it and saving my time.
I 100% hear you there.
Yeah.
And finally, leave us with, again, you've left us with plenty already, but leave us with a life hack or a practical tip that we can go away and go, oh, now Amanda's just changed my life.
It seems pretty basic, but have a to-do list.
Yeah.
That way you can easily just move things up, down, prioritize, but not just a matter of writing down the things you need to do, but I found to write them down in categories. So I need to plan my trip into town if I'm going to be shopping and going to the post office and doing this. I'm like, why don't you categorize your to-do list for in-town jobs? So you're not doing them multiple times throughout the week and you can just get them all over and done with at once. And that's a huge time saver.
Not only having a to-do list, but having an organized, categorized, structured to-do list to do jobs in blocks. Brilliant. Thank you. It has been like a pleasure always. Whenever we have conversations, it's always a lot of fun, a lot of laughs and a lot of stories thrown in the mix as well. So again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And again, just a reminder to everyone that all of Amanda's links, contact details are going to be in the show notes. So they will be able to find you there.
No, perfect. Thanks so much for having me. Again, it was always great talking to you, so thanks.
Pleasure. Goodness. Satellite internet, how we love you. What were your takeaways from that conversation, other than ensuring that you live somewhere with good internet connection? There were a few standout themes that for me, and most notably was Amanda's awareness that life is constantly changing, so we need to focus on our own growth and evolution in order to keep up. I love her attitude to volunteering, focusing on the experiences and the opportunities that it gives her to improve her skills rather than seeing it as busyness tasks, which is, I think, a really good example to set for her daughter. The other thing that really stood out for me is Amanda's awareness that she is on her own path. It doesn't matter what society views as successful. She knows what success looks like for her and her family. She knows what's important to her. She knows where her priorities are. And she makes sure the choices that she makes are in alignment with that. And especially around food and sleep. We cannot forget those most important things. So if you've followed my work for a while now, you'll know that I sound like a bit of a broken record in this regard because it's something that I bang on about to my clients all of the time. What does success look like for you? How much money do you want to make? What sort of clients or customers are ideal for you? What sort of work are you doing? How much time are you spending doing it? What sort of lifestyle is your business there to facilitate? As Amanda said, life is always changing. And I think it was Jess in episode 1 that said, time is always moving. We don't want to get 5 years down the track and realize we're somewhere we had no intention of being. So asking ourselves these questions is vital, not only at the start of our business journey, but continuously throughout as well. If you're loving the show, be sure to follow us on social media at Real Life Business on Facebook and the Real Life Business Podcast on Instagram. I will post all of the links in the show notes to this episode, and those communities are a really great way to share what you've been loving about these episodes, but also to let me know what you'd love to hear more about. Are you a business owner listening to this thinking, wow, well, I'm ready to share my story? Or is there something that you would just love to hear more of? Then shoot me a message, let me know, and I will happily do my utmost to get an episode on this show all about it. You can follow me and my work at reignitepc.com.au to find out more about what I do with my coaching clients. And remember to subscribe on your podcast app of choice so that you never miss a new episode when it drops. Alrighty then, that is all from me for this episode. Thank you for listening, and I will be back in your ears really soon. Until then, bye-bye.